Yay.
Hey guys. Sorry about that. We had a little bit of technical difficulty. All right. So how's everybody doing today?
We're here.
Good. All right. We've got Jen, the Pudgy Picker, and Tonya from Thrifty Treasures. And everybody have a good Halloween?
Yeah, definitely. Lots of candy.
How did your witch party go, Tonya?
It went great. Thanks for asking.
Good. How about you, Jen?
Well, we ended up actually going out to dinner because it was Mr. Pudgy Picker's birthday.
Oh.
So his birthday's the 31st?
Yes, he's heard all the jokes. You know, is he a trick? Is he a treat? So I say depend on when you ask.
That's awesome. My dad's birthday was October 31st. So, okay. So, let's see here to get started. Thanks everybody that's in the live chat. Really appreciate you all being here and joining us today. If you're not subscribed to our channels, please go and subscribe to Jen and Tonya and myself. We would love it. And let's see here. Oh yeah, and make sure and hit that like button.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I guess the first thing we're going to talk about today is I kind of wanted to touch on handmade items. Since Jen, your sister makes handmade items, maybe you would want to start us off with this. Basically, like, you know, do handmade items sell well? Are there other vendors in, you know, your antique mall that make handmade items, and do they sell well?
Yeah, my sister makes like little zip like coin purses. She makes the little tissue holders. She makes even like a wristlet, you know, the larger sized ones. And she does really well with those. There's probably maybe 3 other vendors who do handmade items, not exclusively, but in conjunction with other stuff. And they do pretty well. I also make the crocheted washcloths. So those do pretty good. Sometimes they sit and then somebody will come in and remember, you know, oh, I used to love those, or my mom had them. So when they do sell, I'll sell like a good handful of them at a time. And the mall we're in now seems to do better with handmade items than the previous place. So we're in a more urban area now. So I think there's just not as many people who do those type of handmade items. So when they see something like that, they do buy it. And she also themes out. She has ones that look like they have like a heartbeat in the fabric, like, you know, for nurses. So when you theme those out, yeah, she does really well with those. So yeah, they do pretty well.
Now, so how do they do like throughout the year? Do they sell at better times of the year? Like, do they sell better at Christmas for gifts, or do they just pretty much sell evenly throughout the year?
I would say they're pretty evenly throughout the year. She tries to bulk up on them around this time of year because of, you know, everybody's buying gifts. So, but there's not any particular, you know, time of year that it does better than others.
Okay. And Tonya, how about you? Do you make handmade stuff for your booth, or does other people in your mall make stuff?
Well, I have experimented with making the refrigerator magnets from the broken jewelry. And I've done well with those. They do sell when I actually take the time to make them.
Oh, good.
So, and I would think they would sell more like around, like right now, probably through Christmas, because people might pick them up as a stocking stuffer, or maybe for a little gift for a teacher or something like that.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
How much do you charge for those?
I only put like $2.95 on them.
Okay.
Hey, Jen, how much do you charge for your handmade dishcloths?
I think I kind of been experimenting around with the prices, but I think I put like $2.99 on them, and they're made from the like the sugar and cream 100% cotton yarn. And I also occasionally, it's been a while since I've made one, have made I get like a lamp and make the lampshade actually the 35mm slides, and drill holes in them and then hook those all together. So those always do really well. It's just I haven't had the time. Now that the cooler weather's coming in, I'll probably have more time to do that now, but those also do good. I'll sell them for like $30-$35 a piece.
Cool.
So I got to do a tutorial on those. I know everybody's always asking me, but
Yeah, I'd love to see
that's
that.
on the list. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as far as my booth, I have not had my booth as long as you all have. And I do make the crochet dishcloths as well. They have not, I mean, I've sold a few here and there, but not, not a whole lot. The biggest thing before I had my antique booth was that I made the deco mesh wreaths. And I have put those in my antique booth and I have sold those, although I don't really make a lot of money on those. I pretty much just get cost for them. So my time to make them is not really included in the cost of them. So
does it take a long time to make those? Because they're so pretty.
It takes, it takes a little bit because you have to, there's a lot of cutting involved, cutting the ribbon to put on them. And, so yeah, it takes some time to make them. But like I said, I still make them, but the deco mesh wreath seems to be kind of going by the wayside, and people are wanting more of the grapevine now, more simpler type wreaths than all the deco mesh with all the ribbons and the different, flashy stuff. So, but they do sell occasionally from time to time. So,
yeah, it's funny how like wreaths never really go out of style, but the style of the wreath, some, used to be more elaborate, pieces, and now it seems, everything's more simplified or more, I don't know what's the term for it? Minimalist. So
Yeah.
But that's something that always seems to do well.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that until you said that, Tam, but I guess it is true. Like the deco mesh was really popular for what, like few 3 years or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
that's when I got into it. Yeah.
You don't see it quite as much on the doors anymore.
Right. Yeah, it's more of the grapevine and the burlap. Burlap's big too. Well,
burlap.
Yeah, burlap's it was really, really big when deco mesh started going out, but I think that it's actually becoming not quite as popular, and the grapevine's coming back. I mean, trends change and people, like different stuff at different times. So
yeah.
Plus, that's something you can always find at like a thrift store or garage sale, and if you find, the basic piece that you want and it's a pretty cheap price, you can always revamp it. So it's something that if you do decide to do that, you don't have to be super crafty to be able to do that. And you can pick up garage sales. If somebody's got $1 on it, just strip it off and start fresh.
Yeah.
Just go to Pinterest and get some ideas.
Yeah.
Right. I've definitely been seeing more of the deco mesh at Goodwill. Like, I don't know if people are getting rid of their, they're like destashing or whatever the word is. They're getting rid of their stuff, but yeah.
Yeah. I've gotten rid of almost all of mine. I mean, if somebody, contacts me and wants an order, then I'll just go, buy the materials to make it instead of keeping it, on hand, because it's just not as popular anymore.
Right.
It's funny when you have something that you end up seeing in Goodwill, it's pretty much done or made to ground.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I will admit freely to making redneck wine glasses.
Yes.
When they were popular, man, I would charge like $8 a piece. So I mean, I am not of riding a trend until it, the wave crashes, and then I'll move on. But I made some good money on them, so I'm not going to hate on fads,
Yeah, right. I agree. So next I want to talk about is food items. Does your all's vendor mall allow food items like around the holidays? Like, can you sell like cookies or fudge or candies, or what about you, Tonya?
I've got to say, I have never noticed that in a booth before. So I'm not sure if my mall allows it or not.
Right.
I mean, if somebody made some good old-fashioned divinity, I would definitely be wanting to buy some.
How about you, Jen?
Yeah, it's something that's allowed in our area. It's funny, we can't have clothes in our space or in the mall, but we can have candy. So I don't know. There is one particular vendor that has a couple of stands right by the register, and she does a lot of the like pretzel rods dipped in chocolate and stuff. But I don't know, it's one of those things that if you do something like that, or you have a specific space to do it, you need to keep up on it, because if it goes empty or for a week or two, you know, it doesn't do as well. You know, people come to rely on that. So she'll do fudge and, you know, sometimes cookies. You just have to have all the ingredients listed on it so people know if they're allergic or whatever.
Yeah, that's
Right.
smart.
Yeah, but we could have something like that. In our old space, we actually did that. We you know, had a space up by one of the registers, and I did chocolate covered Oreos, and even you know, what was it, potato chips and chocolate. And
Really?
but yeah, oh yeah, but it takes a lot of time. And if we at that time we had a double booth, and it was just too much. It was way too much.
Yeah, well, actually, in my antique mall, I had asked the owner if we were allowed to do that, because I make cream pool candy, and I make it every year, and people that know that I make it, they'll always order from me. But she said that, you know, because of, I guess, health code or something, we're not allowed to do that, you know, in our antique mall. So I kind of hated that, because the holidays, you know, you get to baking and cooking, and you're thinking, oh, you know, maybe I can sell some of this. But she said it wasn't allowed in ours. So I just wondered if it was different for you all in your all's areas.
Yeah, it's something you need to check with the owners with, because that's something, if you really wanted to do that and you think, oh, well, it's not that time of year, but that time of year I'll do it, and then you move in and then you ask and it doesn't work out. So that's something else to kind of ask and keep in mind when you're opening a space.
Yeah, now I have seen like those jars, like the mason jars, that sometimes people give as gifts, and they've got like the hot cocoa and everything that you need for the mix in the jar. I have seen people put those in their booth. But I wanted to say real quick, if it's okay, Rhonda got Dunk in Our Trunk had brought something up. She says in the chat, I sell D-stash all the time in my booth, hanging Ziploc bags on pegboards, jewelry pieces, craft items that are alike. She says, I don't do the crafting anymore. I just sell the supplies for almost as much as the craft, considering time. So she says that she has a bin with Ziplocs standing up, ongoing, and throw stuff in each bag till full enough to sell. I think that's a great idea.
That is a great idea, yes.
But yes, I mean, because there's people, like, we love to look for that stuff when we go to Goodwill and places like that. So I'm sure people would be looking for it in the antique malls too.
Yep.
I'm definitely going to look into that.
Yeah, definitely. That is a great idea.
Yeah, that's, I know in our previous mall that we seem to do better on craft, you know, items like, you know, to make items, and kits, and, you know, cross stitch kits, and like latch hook rug kits. They don't seem to do as good in our new mall. People, like in our area, that where our mall is, they like to come in and buy something already done. So it seemed to do better in the other area than it does here. So that's kind of I don't know, that's a location thing, you know. You can't really say things absolutely do well, but you know, it's nice to have that, because if you're doing a craft and then you just don't have the time, who doesn't have craft stuff?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so we're going to kind of switch gears here a little bit, and this is specifically a question for both of you all, because I do not sell on eBay. But how do you all decide when you are out thrifting and you find things, what you're going to put on eBay and what you're going to sell in your antique booth? Jen, you want to start with that?
I guess the first thing I do is research the item, just to see what it's going for on eBay. Because I kind of know what it would go for if I put it in the booth. I have just a basic idea. Also, if the item is a very specific thing, like if it is a part for something, or it is only for certain items, or only a limited amount of people would be interested in it, then it definitely goes on eBay. So you have a, you know, wider audience there.
Yeah.
Also, I know there's times when you think, oh man, I so don't want to ship this. So I'll try and put it in the booth first and think, well, we'll see how it does. In fact, I have an example. I didn't plan this. Sitting right here. This I found. This is glass.
Oh, that's
If you
pretty.
believe that.
Oh,
And
yeah, I saw that in your last video. That was awesome.
Yep, that was in my Monday thrift video. So I have a tag on it because I'm like, I so don't want to mail this. So I put, I think like, how much did I put on it? 42. And I thought, well, I'll see how it does. I mean, if it was for way more, I don't know, maybe I could put it on eBay. Somebody said it was a compote dish.
Yeah.
So I don't know much about glassware, but I'm going to do a little bit of research before I take it out today. I can pretty much ship anything. I mean, I can bundle stuff up and, not worry too much about it getting broken. Still, I look at that with the little spindly, things on it, and I'm like, oh, that would be terrible to get that bust.
Right.
But yeah, the shipping thing, that's a big thing.
That would be good also, like with some candy in it.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So how about you, Tonya?
Well, for me, honestly, it has a lot to do with the size of the item and breakables. I don't, I've been selling on eBay for a super long time, but I just do not like to ship breakables. I've had some bad luck with it recently. I don't know what I'm doing different. I haven't changed anything. So most of the time, the breakables, the glass, the stuff like that, with the exception of some coffee mugs, are definitely going to the antique booth for sure. I'm not even going to mess with it.
Right.
So
yeah, see, that's not something I've tried in my booth is coffee mugs. I know in our previous space they didn't do so well. We've been at this place for a couple of years. I have occasionally picked up a coffee mug if it says something, really funny or it's really unusual, and they seem to do okay. But as far as like carrying them, in fact, I had this huge mug, and it was a big brown mug, and it says "Coffee makes me poop."
oh my gosh.
And somebody bought it for like $16, so I was like, that worked pretty good. So
Yeah.
if it's something weird or unusual, but it's not something I look to carry, but who knows, I'm always keeping my eyes open to see any unusual ones.
Right.
Yeah, because I feel like that's like a lot like the jewelry. It's the smalls that can help pay your rent, right?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Because you can get the coffee mugs at garage sales and thrift stores, for a quarter, 50 cents, $1. And just put like $6.95, $7.95. It'll add up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's not done real well in my booth is coffee mugs. I thought about trying maybe some Christmas ones, and maybe putting some, like peppermints and then wrapping them up, as gifts or something like that. But in the past, coffee mugs have not done very well for me. And I've even priced them cheap. I even priced them, $2 and $3 each. So
let me save you some time with that, because I thought the same thing, but I did wine glasses. And so I took really pretty wine glasses that I found. And of course, I cleaned them up real good. And I put candy in them, and I wrapped them and put ribbon on them, thinking that people might buy them for gifts. And I honestly don't even think I sold one.
oh wow.
Maybe coffee mugs, though, might do better. I mean, because
Right.
like I said, people are always looking for gifts for their teachers or their nail lady or the people that, their hairstylist.
Yep, exactly.
So maybe I had them in there the wrong time of the year. Maybe I had them in there during the summertime.
Yeah.
We should all try that.
And I'm wondering too, because the owner at my antique mall said that we couldn't sell candy, but I'm wondering if like packaged candy, if you can do something like that as opposed to homemade candy.
Yeah, your lady sounds really strict. What I would do is I would just maybe do one up, like get a coffee mug and fix it up exactly how you're going to sell it in your booth and present it to her so she sees how pretty it looks and everything.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this would be a good time of year to do that, considering all of the small type sealed candies that are sold for Halloween. So maybe something like that, if it's sealed, it would make, it would be better. She would be okay with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm definitely going to ask her about that. Now, as far as the what I had said about eBay and your antique booth, now when you do your research, when you find something that's going to go in your antique booth, do you like whatever it's going for on eBay? Do you know that you can't get that much for it in your antique booth, so you price it less, or how does that work?
I usually price my stuff a little bit cheaper,
Yeah.
just a little bit,
Yeah.
because I want it to move, and you want people to feel like they're getting a good deal.
Right.
And if you have an antique booth and you are even remotely considering printing off a paper from eBay and sticking it on the item to show, I will come through this camera and strangle you. That's nuts at garage sales, at thrift stores, and that's just one of my major pet peeves is you see that, and people even at garage says, oh well, that's this much on eBay, and I say, oh well, maybe you should sell it on eBay then.
Yeah. I've come across
that's
that
too much
too.
work. Yeah, that's too much work.
Right.
Oh, that's why you can demand a higher price, because it's work.
Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
Exactly. Okay, so Christy Wendland in the chat says vintage ornaments sell well for her. I don't currently have any vintage ornaments, but I did this past summer found lots of cat ornaments. And I know how, Jen, you have said in the past that people love dogs and cats and to buy things animal themed in their booth. So I scarfed up those, and I have sold several over the past probably 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. So that worked well for me.
Especially if you get something that is like, it covers different categories. Like you said, it's a Christmas ornament, it's a cat. If it was a Garfield, I mean, you have all these different interests that people are looking for. So it appeals to more people. And people love cats, dogs, frogs,
horses,
turtles. Oh my gosh. People just love stuff like that. And I always do well with animal figurines, animal pictures, animal sayings, animal signs. They always do really well. So yeah, I would say yes on those.
definitely.
Okay, so the next thing, have you all ever had items that when you put them in your booth, they started selling really well and then they quit selling for a while for whatever reason?
No, absolutely not. Everything I put out there. No,
Jen.
I'm just kidding you. No, it's true. It's not even that something necessarily is trendy or a fad, and then you think, yeah, it kind of runs its course. Not even that. It's just, I don't know. Some things people love, and it's just an oversaturation. I know, like milk glass did well for a while, and that kind of seems to be waning a little. There's always going to be people who are interested in milk glass or a particular item, but as far as a lot of people liking it or a lot of people having it, it's kind of, it kind of wanes a little bit. So I'll switch it up. Sometimes I've had like Vera Bradley bags. I used to be able to sell those like hotcakes on eBay. I mean, I would put them in within a day, they would sell. And just now they're really just,
Yeah, I don't even pick them up anymore.
yeah. So unless they're extremely clean, absolute great condition, and I get them really cheap. So I've been taking some of them off eBay and putting them in my booth, and they've been doing pretty good in the booth. Not great, but better than they had been on eBay. So it's like anything else. You kind of watch it for a while, and then if it doesn't sell, you can either kind of, like in a booth, I just gave this advice to somebody on my podcast about, booths, and said, if you have an item, they said, I had these items and they weren't selling. I went to pull them, and before I got there, somebody bought 3 of them. So now what do I do? And I said, well, maybe you should consider, I have this item, in your brain, I have a foot square, and that's what will fill it. Any more than that, don't bring it out. Or if it's, an unusual milk glass item, then bring it out. But, kind of condense the area you have. So you're still covering an interest, but it's not like, your whole booth is full and nobody's buying it.
Right. Yeah, I had, for my booth, there for a while, I was getting some really nice shoes. And I sold several pairs, but now they don't seem to be selling. Same went with some clothing that I had. I was selling some clothing pretty good, and now that's kind of, gone to the wayside. And my scarf display that I made with all my scarves, I've only sold 1 scarf, which I'm really surprised because, you know, in the past, I've sold scarves pretty good, especially when I first opened my booth. But for some reason, they don't seem to be selling as well now. So how about you, Tonya?
I've been racking my brain trying to think of something, and I can't. I cannot think of any one thing that sold really well for a while and then now it's not. So it's just kind of a mishmash of things that sell. So
Right, right.
Well, keep in mind too, if you bring something new out, like you said with the scarves, I mean, if you have them out there for 3-4 weeks and you go, oh, they're not selling, get rid of them, you got to give that a little bit of time. And I would say keep them in there until maybe the end of the year, because those would make a nice gift. So, you know, hang in there and ride it out a little bit. Some people, when it comes to a booth, are, you know, they get in, they put their stuff in, and I'm not making $1 million, and this just isn't working, and I'm not going to do it anymore. And, you know, so you have to have a little bit of patience with things. And if you carry something regularly, like I do with the fabric, people start to get to know that's what you have, and they'll come back for that item. Now, I'm not sure about scarves or anything in particular, but my fabric in the last probably 3 months has really taken off. And I've been keeping track when I get my list with my check. And the last paycheck had $65 in fabric.
Wow,
So,
that's a lot.
Yeah. And I was just like, holy cow, that's crazy. So it's just one of those things that, you know, carry it for a little while, give it more than a month or two. You know, if it goes 3 or 4 and not, you know, then you could say, well, I guess there's not an interest. But how long have you had the scarves in there, Tam?
Well, not very long. I've only had them in there about a month. And, you know, when I put them in there, the weather was still kind of warm. Of course, it's turned cold over the past couple of weeks. So hopefully that'll pick up. But, and then the monogram jewelry, all that monogram jewelry I got, since I've put that in my booth, I've sold that pretty steady. But I have a feeling that's
interesting. Do people buy it because it's their initials, or how does that work?
I don't know if they buy it because it's their initials or if they buy it as a gift for somebody for Christmas, but it's been selling pretty steady. I usually sell, you know, maybe 2 or 3 pieces a week. So
wow.
Yeah, that's good stocking stuffers too.
So yeah, it's done pretty well. And I have it priced really well too. So
yeah, see, when I see something like that, I'm like, who in the world? And they're usually 3 initials. I'm like, who in the world's going to find their initials? I don't think that would sell. So that kind of surprises me, but that's really cool.
Well, it's just the monogram jewelry is just one single monogram. It's not 3.
Yeah.
It's like either like a T or an S.
We got, you know, the 3 initials, but
right.
But that's cool. I never would have thought of that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so next, let's talk about our best and worst month of the year, of this year. So how about you, Tonya? What's been your worst month this year?
Oh gosh. I would have to say it's usually slow, like maybe early summer. And then I guess my best would probably be definitely, I'd say the fall. Like December and January, I do really good, or I did last year anyway.
So you would say like May or June probably has been your worst month this year?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Jen?
Yeah, see, I don't know if for Tonya, if that's a climate thing, because, you know, you don't have winter and you don't have, oh, there's a certain amount of great days in summers, I have to get outside. Well, no. So, sorry about that. Somebody's all excited for no reason. I would say summer, like July and August aren't so great, because around here you get a limited number of good days, and if the sun's shining and it's not 105 degrees, people want to be out in their yard, or, you know, they have graduations, they have weddings, they have, you know, vacations, all that kind of stuff going on. So that's more of a tough time of year. And then I would say I do real well, of course, in like December, but January even seems to be as good as December. And I'm not sure why that is. Yeah, if a lot of people are giving money as a holiday gift and then they're out spending it, or, but yeah, January does really well.
And I don't know about y'all, the place where you guys have a booth, but my antique mall, they actually sell gift cards. So what a great gift card, because a lot of people love to go antiquing and to look at the shops. I would love to have one. So it's a great gift.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess probably, like I said, I've only been doing this since February, so I guess probably the worst month that I had, I guess would be the first month I started. Of course, I didn't really know what to expect when I went in. I did make my rent, and I made a little bit of money extra, not a lot, but a little bit. But probably my best month, I would have to say was July.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Your best one was July so far?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see how you do for December and January, though.
Yes, I am too. And I think also the reason that month was good because that was the month that we moved locations. And so I had 2 booths open at the same time. So that's probably why I did so well. But even after the move was finished, August was a really good month as well. So, you know.
Wow, that's good, because I know summer can be really tough. You'll get a string, even now if you hit, it's like 42 degrees here in Cleveland today, but if you get a day where it's like 58 or 60, there's nobody in there. They're all out raking leaves, trying to finish getting stuff done before snow flies. But, even in the summer, you get a day where it's really rainy or stormy, people are showing up because they're like, nothing to do, let's go shopping.
Right. Yeah.
Libby says in the chat she says, do your malls have girls' night out with flyers and specials, etc.? I think that would be a great idea for mall owners to do that, right?
Yeah, that would. I'm gonna bring that up to my owner.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
We have tons of all kinds of things. We had for the USO, they had some people in uniforms coming in scooping ice cream, and they did that per donation. We've recently started something. Different cities in our area do what is it called? Coffee with a Cop, where they'll have a police officer come to your business and just sit and talk to citizens, and if people have questions or concerns. So we brought it up to the police in our area, and they were like, oh yeah, we could probably do that. And we had like 30 people show up, to talk to them, and then they went shopping. So it's something that we're going to continue. That's going to be a regular thing.
Yeah, it's really smart.
Yeah, so I mean, it's, it was community involvement. It brought in customers. So they're always trying to think of, different things to get people in and get people interested. But girls' night out, that's pretty interesting. I
love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, now let's see. Well, let's get into this. And this would be a better question for both of you all because you all have gone through a Christmas. But what types of Christmas items sell well based on past years? So Tonya, we'll go ahead and start with you. Based on what you sold through Christmas, any kind of like Christmas decor or anything that has to do with Christmas, what sells well in your area, in your booth?
I don't know. I've been putting out some stockings. I have some Snoopy stockings that are singing. They sing and they're animated, and I feel like those do well. I got a whole bunch of them, and I don't know, just any of the Christmas stuff. What do you think, Jen?
Not only like holiday or seasonal type items, but anything. A lot of people like different things to buy as gifts for people have different interests. I've had people buy, I had glass hummingbird feeders. Those were selling in December. Having a wide variety of prices, having things from $5 and up. So even little kids, if they want to buy something for mom and dad or that kind of thing. I just recently, my niece's daughter, for their anniversary, my sister and I didn't even know about it, went into the store and she bought up it was like $2 or $3, just a little tin, an old tea tin for her mom for their anniversary. So having a good variety of prices and having some maybe new items and just kind of special interest. People are looking for everything. Just because it's Christmas or winter doesn't mean everybody wants Christmas and winter things to give to other people. They want to buy other stuff too.
Yeah, that's a good
So, you know,
point.
yeah, keep that in mind.
That's true. And also, I just remembered something. I had found these two elves, and they were kind of like creepy looking elves. You know, they had on like Christmas decor type clothing. And I want to say it was when I had two booths. I want to say it was during the summer months when they sold, but they sold like that. So I feel like if you guys come across some crazy looking elves, buy them because I feel like they would do really well.
So now what about stuff like, do you all kind of try to search out like new stuff that's in the package to put in your booth for Christmas? I know that here recently I think it was some kind of game, and it was new in the package, and I put it in my booth, and within a week it sold.
Yeah, for me, if it's sealed and it's going for good money, there's a good chance I'm going to send that into FBA, or I might even merchant fulfill it if it's going for higher enough. But if it's a game and say I pick it up at a garage sale for $1, and it's only worth about $10, that's definitely something I would probably put in my antique booth.
Right. How about you, Jen?
You know what? I'm always on the lookout for stuff, and you know, especially when it's during the summer when you're walking up a driveway and it's 95 degrees outside, and there's like snowmen, in coats, and you're like, oh, I don't even want to think about it. But that's the time to pick up stuff. That's the time to grab it and to put it away. I always advocate, if you got the room, I have a couple of really big bins. One says winter. I have a couple that say winter, fall. So as you find that stuff, put it in those bins. And then when that time of year rolls around, you just pull the bin out, get everything repriced, and out it goes. So you don't have to worry about, oh man, I bought all this winter stuff. Where did I put it? Or I bought all this fall leaves or snowmen. Where in the world did I put it? So to bring it in, put it in a box, pull it out, you're ready to go. It's organized, and you've been picking that stuff up for dirt cheap. So
yeah, I agree. I have a Christmas one. I need to get it out and definitely get that stuff up there.
Yeah, I got winter stuff. I'm pretty much out of fall stuff. I have a few things that are still hanging up. But as far as things, to candle holders or whatever that it's sitting on a table, I'm almost completely out. So, yeah, we're going to be taking our winter stuff out soon. And so,
when you do that, do you have a dedicated area in your booth for that? Or do you just mix all that seasonal decor in with the everyday stuff that you sell in your booth?
Well, in the front, if you've ever seen my booth tours that I do, in the front, I have a metal with glass shelves. It's 25 by 25 and probably about 5 feet tall. And we stage that every month. So I will put all of our seasonal things on there. And then if I have anything to hang up, I'll put it on our, shutter doors that we have. We have little hooks to hang it up. If I have more than will fit on that, then I'll kind of interdisperse it. But I keep bringing it forward because that's the first thing people see.
Yeah, and that's such a great point, because if people can see everything in one space, they're probably going to be, more likely to buy more than one item, right? My husband's always telling me, put like things together, Tonya. So.
Yep. Yeah, that always does real good no matter what time of year it is. We had one time we did that display. We did wedding things and white, and it was such a striking display. Connor, can you grab that? We had, like, if you had animals or figurines that were all white or anything white, frames. I mean, it was really appealing to look at, and it did really well. So that's something to keep in mind. If you have a lot of one particular color, do that. It's really eye-catching.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so next thing is, how often does your all's mall call you to come down on an item? Or do they call you at all? Or is there a certain price that they won't call or will call? How does that work? How about you, Jen?
We have a store policy that if an item is less than $24 or $25, then they don't call. So if somebody comes up and says, this item's $20, do you think the dealer will take less? they'll look at the price and say, a store policy is we don't call for anything under $25. So that eliminates a lot. If it is above that amount, I personally, they have a card catalog. So if they bring an item up, they look up my vendor number and they read the card before they call me. And my card says anything over 25 is an automatic 10% off. Don't call me. And the reason I did that is because I had a couple things go through that when the person called me and says, hey, will you take, this amount or take less? Something got lost in communication and a couple items got sold really low. And I was like, at this point, just do the 10%. You don't have to call me. And if someone is making or having someone call you, they're really interested anyway. So
Right.
if it's even only 10%, they're usually pretty much sure they want it anyway. So I have that. That eliminates a lot of calls. So mainly, the only thing I ever get a call for is somebody found something in your booth and there's no price on it. So that's
Right.
usually the only calls I got, and that's maybe once every 3 weeks or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Tonya?
I agree with Jen. Probably about maybe once every month or so, I'll get a phone call. It doesn't happen that often. I would say I get more phone calls that they found something in the booth and it wasn't priced. So,
Yeah.
and I am pretty sure that my mall will automatically give you 10% off if you just ask if the dealer can do anything about the price. So, and they haven't asked me individually. Like, I don't think they have a card system or card file system, that they use. But if they did, I think that'd be really good.
Yeah.
That's really smart.
Yeah, it's an easy way for them to look over that. And then they even have questions on the card like, do you take orders, special orders? So you can put yes or no. We had that with a customer that came up. Somebody had like metal letters that they actually made, and then they would have words or just letters. And a guy came up and said, hey, I was wondering if she could make a word for me. And I said, well, I'll look. And it said special orders, no. So I was able to handle that without calling and bothering, the vendor. So yeah, you should suggest that at yours, because that's a real easy way of doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, those are some good points. Now with mine, they pretty much call on anything. And I brought up recently to the owner that maybe we should have a set amount, that if it's, $15 or $20, if it's under that price, to not call. And then if it's over that price, we can either say, like you said, Jen, an automatic 10%, or definitely call me. And, she liked that idea. And I told her, I said, what we might want to do, but she said she didn't know what other people would think, the other vendors would think. And I said, well, maybe you could send out an email and ask people and say, hey, this is what we're thinking about doing. What are your all's thoughts? So that way it would kind of be a group decision on what we did in the antique mall. So she's supposed to be doing that here pretty soon. But one thing that she did bring up was, if you've got something listed and say it's under $20 and someone wants you to take less and they automatically don't call you, you could lose out on a sale. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know, that you get to a mentality, if something is $8 or $10 and someone says, will you take less? You're starting to get into that garage sale mentality,
Right?
Where this is 75 cents. Will you take a quarter? I mean, you gotta kind of have an area where you say, this is it. And we have a lot of vendors who will literally price something at $24.99 because they don't want to take any less. So, it has its advantages and disadvantages. But at your mall, if they're calling all the time, then maybe if they say, look, we're thinking about doing these items, what do you think? We won't call you as much. We won't bother you at home as much. And most people who have a space, they have a job, they have kids, they have a house, they have other things going on, and most of them have a job. So, to be called all the time, I mean, that can get irritating after a while. So,
right.
I mean, you might have the owner might have a better response than she thinks she will.
Yeah. I agree. Let's see. Okay, do you all have anything that you all want to add?
There's a comment from Junk in the Trunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to read that, Tonya, because that's a good point.
Yeah, it is definitely a good one. I was taking notes. I'm going to do it. Okay. So, got junk in our trunk. Rhonda says, Libby makes a great point. Men are virtually ignored in many booths. Women are the biggest group of vendors. Women are the biggest shoppers, but men shop. So I have a men's corner or shelf at all times. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Have like a little mini man cave.
Yeah, that's something I do. I have a couple top shelves, and then the top of the shelving unit that I have men's items. And, because women do shop for men and they want to buy things for men.
Like
So,
what kind of items do you have, Jim? Jim, for men?
sometimes I'll have like the liquor flasks.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that if there's any, cute sign about women, like I have one that says something about, my wife tells me I should, listen more, or at least I think that's what she said, or, that kind of stuff. So I kind of group that in one area. So it's more the guy area. And
Right.
I did have a sign. What was it? It said something about, I never get lost because my wife always tells me how to drive or something, So yeah. And then I had one, for women that said, my husband wanted more space, so I locked him outside. That one sold pretty well. So yeah, having a little area for the guys, that type of item. I had like a little metal, what do you call it? Like a slot machine. That I did really good on that. So it's not a real big area, but it's an area for them to look at.
Yeah, so Libby also says a lot of guy collectors out there, fishing, hunting, sports stuff, all good for man caves. And I do have a lot of the like the nautical, the fishing decor and stuff like that in my booth too. So it's easy to come across in the area that I live in. And I'm sure a lot of women are looking for it to decorate their houses with too.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything golf too. I don't know if it's in my particular area, but man, golf stuff. I've had, little frames that look like a golf ball or funny signs or anything, and golf always sells for me. So that's something else to look for too.
Yeah, and frames. I always forget to check out the frames. That's a good idea. Definitely.
Yeah. I've had several frames sell in my booth. Actually, I had bought this past summer, there was a couple frames that were moose themed.
Oh, that's good.
And yeah, they sold. Actually, the last one just sold in my booth this past week, so I was happy about that.
And something to consider, Tam, since you're doing frames, and Tonya, if you decide to do it, is if you have a themed frame, like if it looks like a wedding frame, I'll go on Google Images and find a picture that I think would go well in the picture frame, print it out and put it in there.
Put it in there, yeah.
That's a good idea.
They always do better when they have a picture in them. Like I had one that it looked kind of rustic and it had like a little, like a sheriff star. And I found one of a little kid standing in like adult, cowboy boots looking down at them. And when I put stuff like that, they do better. So it don't take very long to do, but
yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. In the past, what I've done is I've just used scrapbook paper. And cut out, the printed like cardstock papers that have pretty designs and stuff on them and stick them in the frame. And they do better that way.
That's a good idea too. What kind of price do you guys put on those frames?
For me, it just depends on what I paid for it. And, if it's a really nice frame, I might put, $6 or $7 on it. But, or if it's a smaller frame, I might put $4 or $5, but I've got to get it pretty cheap too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I only pick up unique ones because you think, there's a lot of just the basic wood ones and that. Mm-hmm. I had maybe 3 weeks ago, I bought some really nice frames. They had metal on the corners and it looked like mercury glass, but there was no glass in them. So I picked those up and then I went to the dollar store and I got 2 frames and just took the glass out of them. and I've got like $14 on them. They're really beautiful 8x10
Nice.
frames.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So yeah, if you have to do that, or even at a garage sale, or there's a piece of, the glass is broke or something, so they just put a cheap price on it. There you go. Go to the dollar store.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do that. Yep.
Okay, and I do have one more thing, and I actually didn't tell you all about this
Uh-oh.
when I sent the program notes. But it's not hard. It's easy. Okay, so I had a nightmare item that I had bought for my antique booth that I planned on fixing up that I didn't think would be very difficult, and it turned into a nightmare. So I'm just wondering if you all have ever had any thing like that happen where you've picked up something and said, oh, I'll do this or that, and it'll be really easy, and then it turned into a nightmare.
You mean like as far as like trying to fix it up and get it ready to sell?
Either trying to fix it up and get it ready to sell, or maybe you bought like a display piece that you were going to fix up to put in your booth to display things on that turned into a nightmare.
Yeah, I have several of those. They're still sitting here in my house and not at the booth.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, you got to get to a point where if you put a little bit of time in it, and then you realize it's getting where it's just not gonna work, your time is worth something. So it's as hard as it is, you have that vision in your head. There's sometimes you just have to say, I'm just going to cut my losses. I'm going to redonate it. I'm going to let it go. I'll put it on free cycle, or something, give it away, put it back into the stream, let someone else pick it up and let them try to work on it. I bought a really cute cabinet and it had inserts in the doors, and I paid maybe $15 for it, was going to fix it up and do this and do that. I was rearranging my basement. A panel fell out of that door. And do you think I can find the panel that goes in that door? So I've gotten to a point where I'm going to put it on free cycle. I'm going to park it at the end of the driveway and let it go into the wild and have another life without me, because it's not worth it at this point to, be worried about it or taking up mental energy trying to think, what am I going to do with it now? Just
Right.
sometimes you got to just let it go.
Yeah, and I have a story. The reason that I asked that question is because I have a story that it was bad. So I found a cabinet on Let Go, and it was right here in my town, little small town. And I went and picked it up. And I went and looked at it, and my daughter was actually with me, and she said, oh, Tam, that would be really cool for your booth. You need to get that. You could just paint it up. It would look really kind of rustic, because, look, right now, I don't know about it in your all's area, but in my area, the farmhouse decor theme is insane, exploding all over the place. So with the cabinet, it kind of looked like that. And she was like, oh, you could paint that up, and it would look so cool in your booth, and you could hang stuff. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get it. Well, I bought it, and it had so many layers of paint on it that when I started working on it, like I couldn't even get the paint off after putting paint stripper on it and trying to like scrape it off. And then my husband he spent like half of a day sanding on it. It was horrible. It was like, it is in my booth. I can tell you that. Because I eventually ended up just saying, forget it. I'm just going to go ahead and put a coat of primer on it, paint it with chalk paint, and hopefully all goes well. And it does look pretty cool in my booth. I've had several people comment on it and say, hey, of course I've got not for sale on it, because the amount of time I spent on it, I don't think anybody would buy it for what I'd have to price it for.
No kidding.
So anyway, yeah, I learned a lesson from that. So yeah, that was not good.
I had a debacle happen yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, but those I guess, what do you call them? They're like little vases, and they hold greenery, but mine are hanging on the wall. They were blue and white, and I spray painted them gold.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went in the garage yesterday. I closed the door, and I heard this loud shattering noise. One of them fell to the ground and shattered in a million pieces. I was like, oh my goodness.
Gosh.
So I cleaned it up, and I looked on the wall. The nail is hanging there just perfectly straight. I don't know how it fell. Isn't that crazy?
Yes. Oh, that's terrible.
So I'm probably going to take the one lone vase up to my antique booth.
Oh, well, maybe it'll sell for you.
Maybe, yeah. I think we lost Jen. Did she freeze up?
Jen, are you there? Oh, she's got her mute on.
Maybe she's going to come back because I see her frozen picture.
Yeah, I do too. Well, I don't know what happened.
Well, I've got to say, I just love hanging out with you guys. I find out, I get so many great ideas. I've got a whole page full of notes that I've taken today. And you guys get me so excited about selling in my antique booth. Like, I'm all excited to get some stuff priced and get up there and, move some things around and decorate. Yeah.
I agree. I love watching your all's videos because they give me so many ideas and stuff that everybody finds. And
yes, definitely.
so, yeah.
And so next month, you guys, the show is going to be back on my channel again. And I think we have some ideas of what we're going to talk about. We're probably going to be talking about, Libby suggested the end of year inventory. I think that's a great idea. And also sales that we might have or be running at the end of the year.
Yeah. Did you run any sales this month for fall stuff?
They didn't offer any sale. Like, I can't do them on my own. It has to be done through the owners. Yeah, but I'm going to be doing 40% off starting Black Friday through the end of the year.
Okay. Am I back?
Yes.
I look still frozen with a terrible face, but I don't know what's going on. So.
We can hear you.
Well, at least we can hear you.
Okay. No, I just some good information you guys are talking about. Something else about frames that we were talking about is if you find like a really nice, like larger frame, you can either print off words or a saying or something like that and put it in the picture and sell it as an art piece. I've done that before.
Yeah.
Great idea.
And you could even take like a picture out of a like an atlas and cut it to go through your inkjet printer, and you can print a saying or something. I've done ones with travel, like not all who wander are lost, or go where you've never been, or something. And those will do well if they're put in a nice frame as well. That makes a nice gift item.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. Okay, guys. Well, if we don't have anything else,
we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, awesome, guys. It was a lot of fun as usual.
Yeah, and our next show will be, when's our next show? Let me get it looks like it will be December the 6th. It's the first Wednesday in December.
Yep.
that sounds right.
Okay, guys, we'll see y'all then.
All right. Y'all have a good week.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us.